The following movie is rated R.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the R-Rated podcast. Today, it's going to be me reviewing 3 big shows and movies that came out this week. I feel like it was a super hot week in July. Not only do we have Sharkweek going on right now as I speak, but we had the Gossip Girl reboot just come out, which is huge because not only is Gossip Girl one of the most iconic high school shows that has ever been dropped in, I would say, history. Not only are we going to talk about that, but also Black Widow, the big 2-hour movie we were waiting for from Marvel. It was supposed to release back in 2020, 2019. I think they shot it in 2019. It was supposed to release in 2020, but due to COVID, they wanted that big audience screening that, every movie totally deserves to get. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, so they pushed it back, and now we're in the middle of 2021, and we're watching Black Widow. So I'm excited to give you guys a review and tell you what I thought. Obviously, everyone's opinion is very different. I won't get my feelings hurt if you won't get yours. So I will start us off with, let's start with Jackass, Sharkweek. I've recently been getting into it. It hasn't been something that's been in my life, my whole life growing up. It's definitely something that I've been getting into the last 5-6 years. But it's been really cool to see the different sharks and learn about them. And that's kind of what I was expecting from this Shark Week as well, is usually you learn something and it's very I don't know, more like National Geographic or one of those, Our Planet type of documentary show type things. And I feel like now it's more for entertainment, getting the right cuts, getting the right shots, making sure it looks like something scary is going to happen, even if, there really isn't anything happening. Well, I know it's not your standard Shark Week episode, but I definitely think it's worth talking about because not only are the tricks and challenges super ballsy and cool, because who else would do that? Yeah. So what I noticed was the guy named Poopy, he had a towel on his arm covering something, but they were trying to claim that it was the beginning of the show. So why would he already be injured if it was the beginning of the show? So clearly they must have filmed that after they had done all the stunts and challenges. And when he got hurt on one of them, he's going to have the cut, the wound, whatever, at the recap. So that's basically what happened. Since he actually did get attacked by a shark, which we're going to talk about, which is actually really freaking crazy, that was just one interesting thing that I thought that they did. I noticed that they did. I kind of wish that they just really did, get their first reactions when they were going to start the challenge, before they were going to start the challenges. Were they nervous? Were they scared? How were they really feeling? I think because, we got the reactions after the stunts and the challenges, we weren't getting the natural reaction, the scared, nervous feeling that, you think that they would have before doing these types of challenges with, was when they were doing these challenges and showing us them going in the water and then a shark swimming by and approaching them and coming to smell them maybe or something like that. They would always cut it really quick and have these cuts to make it look a lot more dangerous than it was, which I totally get. It's a shark show. That's the whole point, to make it look scary, to make it look intense, something's going to attack them. But I just kind of like when things are drawn out and played out. For example, in a lot of films, when action movies, for example, there's a lot of fight scenes, and in the fight scenes there's a lot of quick cuts and it's just boom boom and one thing leads to the other. But I feel personally it does something more when it's drawn out and it's you see the full fight play out, or in this case you would see the full the beginning of the shark approach, and then that one crazy cut of when it's about to bite or come close, and then kind of repeat it and zoom in and all these things. Because if you just cut it so many times, it's like it just takes away from it, and you kind of feel like, okay, well, was that even real, or did you just clip a bunch of stuff together to make it look like it was all? Because honestly, it's all underwater. At the end of the day, you can just make it look like a bunch of different shark footage, pieced together. We don't really know if it was all at once. So I think to just show and prove the realness of like that was really the shark that approached us when we were out there in the water, that maybe could have been cooler. I mean, I might be coming at it a little hard, but at the same time, it's been around for a long time, and Jackass crew has been doing wild stunts for so long, and I don't know, I kind of expected them to just pull through with it. But obviously, I have nothing but respect for them. Like, they are literally putting their lives on the line, and the fact that they or keep going at it, doing what they do best and having fun doing it, I think that's really special. And to have a group of friends to share all that with, it's pretty priceless. Another thing that I thought was pretty funny and hilarious when I was watching Jackass Sharkweek is I noticed that when they were underwater, for example, when Steve-O was underwater with, was it Chris? I think it was Chris. They were talking and reacting to a shark swimming close to them and like it coming near them and them being afraid and them, needing to swim close to shore. And it was just kind of funny. And that's kind of when I cracked the code on how the editing worked, is because I noticed that they were wearing regular snorkeling masks. So that means it wasn't one of those types of masks where you can actually talk and communicate. So the voiceovers were added later in the editing room. So I think it's just funny that that was revealed, because I mean, I don't know if everyone caught that, but if you're a filmmaker, I think you would definitely catch that. You can't talk underwater with a regular snorkel mask. The water would get in your mouth and you would probably start to, spit up water, and it would be all bad from there. But yeah, I started to think like, oh, okay, it all started to make sense then, like they basically add all these things later in the editing room, the voiceovers, the sound effects, the quick cuts to make it look a little bit more intense than it is. Not downplaying that their stunts wasn't intense, because the ones that they did do, they did, risk their lives and really put themselves out there. Something that I wouldn't want to do with sharks. So every stunt was really cool. For example, they get attracted to the color red and yellow, and Chris jumped in the water with a giant matador bull thing to prove it. And they were attracted to it. The color red and yellow was really interesting to see. Really scary to watch when Poopy, I think it's a really funny name. I also laughed a lot when the main scientist said Poopsie, called him Poopsie. I think it's just funny because there's like these Poopsie dolls trending right now, and they're like the shit. They're like these like little mystery dolls. You get like this like big box, and then you don't know which doll you're gonna get. I think there's like 4 to choose from. It's an interesting name for sure, but I like the concept of it. Actually wouldn't mind opening one. But anyway, they basically go out to have Poopy wakeboard in the fucking ocean, and then they have him hold a dead tuna that's like leaking blood and fish juice or whatever, and he's wakeboarding and doing all these like stunts, and he does this like stunt where he goes over this like ramp, and he hits air, he lands it, and all these sharks just come approach it, because you're not supposed to splash and make all these like movements in the water. So they basically come towards him to attack him, and one bites his arm and he starts to bleed, and that attracts more sharks. So they had to definitely act quick, and it was a really scary thing to witness and watch. And I'm sure when they were going through it that that was a big scary thing to deal with. But when you film stuff like that, that's something you have to take into consideration, that you're putting yourself and other people's lives in danger. That's why you always have to have a medic, probably more than one medic in this instance. If you're in the middle of the ocean, maybe you need a lifeguard as well. certified divers, all that. This is like a fun prank and, show. We're doing it for a show to, like this is someone's life on the line. We got to take this seriously. We saw the switch up very, very fast, which is good. You don't want to lose a life over a stupid prank on a TV show. Like obviously ratings are fun and everybody wants those ratings, but at the end of the day, life is worth more than ratings, right? I'm thirsty. And then can you imagine that Poopy, when he's getting voted away from the whole crew, the one thing he's saying is, I want a raise, or I deserve a raise, which is hilarious because, I mean, yeah, he definitely deserves a raise. Give him that raise. But I think I hope I'm never in that situation, but if I'm ever getting bit by a shark in the arm or getting attacked by a shark, I don't think I'm going to be thinking about money or what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. It's like, how am I going to survive this in the moment? But definitely was a funny way to end the show. Okay, so another thing that I want to talk about and go over is Johnny Knoxville. He's not doing any stunts or tricks in the Sharkweek episode, but I did think it was interesting that he had like gray silver hair. It was very like Max from Catfish. I feel like that's like that older guy vibe, kind of like the Blake Shelton vibe. I guess when you hit that like age, you want to switch it up when you have dark hair. But basically, I thought it was kind of interesting that he was either seen on a laptop screen when he was like checking in on the crew, or he was seen by the beach talking about like what they were up against or something like that, like quick little snippets of him talking. Honestly, if I'm being a little honest, he was a little cringy. I guess he couldn't be as crazy as I expect him to be from like the following movies of Jackass and all the previous shit that he's done before. So I guess when the new Jackass comes out, I have high expectations. But all around, I would say it was a very entertaining episode. Definitely one of the better episodes in my opinion, stunt and thrill wise. I thought it was really cool to just kind of feel the action. I do miss the kind of more learning about the sharks, the facts, and all that kind of stuff during Shark Week. But Shark Week isn't over yet, so I might be getting that still. Before we talk about Gossip Girl, I just want to like pledge allegiance. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, I want to give a shout out to the show Gossip Girl, the original one, because it is so amazing. I think it shaped so many girls, so many high schoolers back in the day. Like, I think everyone has watched it. It just kind of kept everyone interested. It wasn't just something high schoolers could watch. It was definitely something you could watch in your 20s, let alone, I think, 30s as well, because it had the parents aspect, their parents' point of view as well. And also some of the main cast would date older, older people, as in, like, since they're in high school, older eyes in their like late 20s or 30s or whatever. So I think it kept a big audience entertained, and it was super exciting to watch. Not only was the fashion amazing, but the way their cattiness was just so natural. It didn't even feel like they were acting. It was pretty hard to top. So I'm excited because we're going to talk about the reboot. I actually went on my Instagram and did a poll to see who was going to be watching and who wasn't going to be watching, because they didn't want to have their like ideal image of Gossip Girl be shattered, I guess, which I understand. When you end a show high and it like is in your memory, like engraved in your memory as this like amazing thing, like, do you necessarily want to take that risk of possibly ruining it? Not saying that that's what happened, but I do want to talk about all the different things that happened in the episode. Obviously, it's just episode 1, so you can't judge a whole show by one episode. So obviously, what I say today, a lot of people could be disagreeing with it, but at the same time, this is just my opinion and how I feel the episode played out. I think the first and main thing to start off with that is very important is, in the first show, the first original Gossip Girl, we never know who Gossip Girl is. Like, we have Kristen Bell narrate the show, and we think like it could be a woman, since the voice is technically a woman. But then we find out at the end that it was actually Dan Humphrey, who was one of the main characters of the show, who ended up being Gossip Girl, which was super, scandalous. It was fun. It was flirty. It was cool that we didn't know right away. It always kept like a mystery. It always kept that spice going. But in this new reboot, because obviously I not only am I a filmmaker, but being a diehard fan of the show, I was like, I have to give it a try. I have to see if what they like took from the original and what they changed. So when I was watching, I was a little disappointed that there was no mystery of who Gossip Girl was. When I found out that it was the teachers playing the role of Gossip Girl, it was definitely a different point of view of what anybody I think was going to expect. But at the same time, it feels a little creepy that the teachers are just so invested in these students and like are making an Instagram page about it and talking about it. Because if I just think about it now, like I just don't know how I would feel if my high school teacher was so invested in like me and my friends. I'd be a little bit freaked out about it. I was thinking maybe as like from a directing standpoint that maybe they could have, but then it would have already changed how Gossip Girl is, because it was taking place in high school. But I feel like the only way the teacher aspect would work is in college, when the teachers can have more of a relationship with their students. And that sounds a little weird and bad, but I mean, it just seems super inappropriate and creepy that the high school teachers would be so involved and invested and posting about the students, especially their students. That was one thing that I didn't like. So it was revealed. So for anyone who didn't watch the show yet, this is definitely a spoiler. So maybe if you haven't watched, this is your time to put me on pause and go watch the episode and then come back to what I have to say, and see if you agree. Continuing. So if you haven't watched it, this is on you. It is revealed that the teachers are going to be basically playing Gossip Girl. And it's like this English teacher that is getting pushed around from like the mean squad, which is Julian and Monet, and I don't know what the other girl's name is, but there's like, the main mean girl and then her two besties. And I guess the English teacher keeps getting picked on by them, as in like they bump into her and the coffee spills on her and all that kind of stuff. So she basically wants to get control and shape them into being better people and not bullies by pretending to be Gossip Girl. And I guess since the whole faculty is bored, there's like 4 other teachers in on it. A male teacher, and I believe 3 other female teachers. And I was like, okay, where's this going? Like, this is going to be interesting, I guess. Like, is it? And then it got a little creepy. And when I say it got a little creepy, I'm going to tell you why. I'm totally someone who's open for new things, like trying to like see the vision, see like open mind, whatever. But I just wasn't feeling the one part where what's her name? Where when the male teacher was taking a picture outside of Julian's boyfriend's place, and it was like raining, and they were changing because it was raining, but it looked sexual. Obviously, it was all like darkly lit silhouette, but he's like taking a picture from the outside, being creepy. And I don't know, something about that rubbed me the wrong way, because this teacher is probably like 35 years old and they're supposed to be like 17. At least the girl was supposed to be 17. So I'm just like, I don't know. That could get you in trouble. I don't really know what the writers were thinking on that one. So another thing that I noticed, which, I mean, obviously, like I said, it's still episode 1. It's still early. A lot of things can happen. I'm curious if they're going to do like 22, 23 episodes like the the original. I know I'm comparing it a lot to the original, but that's what happens when you do a reboot. Is it going to be a 23 episode show, or is it going to be like the newer shows where it's like 11 episodes of juicy stuff? So we'll see. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. I want to kind of stay surprised about it. I think the next episode airs tomorrow in one day. So I guess check out on my Instagram story. I'll let you guys know what I think of episode 2. And I would love to hear about what you guys think. But I did notice that instead of the drama being, towards the friend group, towards each other, it is more focusing on teachers getting their respect back. So it's like teacher versus students versus like sophomore versus senior type vibe, which is different. But how long can they play that out? How long can they do all that without it being, like I said, creepy? I haven't seen much about the parents yet, but like I said, it's episode 1, so we might see more. Hopefully we do, to kind of understand why they are the way that they are. I do feel like they both have a very mean girl vibe, but I feel like in this reboot, it's a little bit forcefully mean, where I'm like, I don't know, maybe because I wouldn't talk like that to a faculty member or even to like other students, where it just seems so overly catty. I don't know if it's the right way to approach it, but in the original one, like, it was mean, but in like a classy, smart way, in a classy, like, assertive, like, you didn't even know you were getting dissed, but you were getting dissed by Blair. You know what I mean? Like, that type of diss. One thing that I loved that this new reboot episode did was the cast was so diverse, which we've been seeing a lot more in shows like Euphoria and all that. But it was cool to see, them really, really go with it and not just, cast one diverse character. It was everyone in the show is very diverse, which I think is really cool. Sex positive and, not the usual norm, which is fun. I think it meets the standards of how New York really is, and how it's a big city and you got those different personalities, those different vibes, and you're having fun when you're going to these big parties, you're trying new things, and you're in that experimental phase. So it was really cool to see that. I really enjoyed what they did, because we got Zoya, I think it's Zoya, and Julian, who are supposed to be stepsisters, which is interesting. I didn't realize like they were going to approach it in that way, where that they're actually related instead of everyone being friends. Like, now we have 2 people in the same group that possibly could be sisters, or are sisters, but they just didn't have that childhood together, so they're not close. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to be able to have that close relationship, or if it's always going to be a feuding one, but I'm curious to see. And on top of that, we have Monet, who's also a badass and very sassy, where she tells everyone exactly what she's thinking, which I like. They casted a really, really fun group of guys. They're all very cute and fun in their own way, which is great to see. I love, I think you say Aki or Aki. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I love his pink hair. Feeling it. It's such a vibe. Obviously, he's dating the pretty Audrey, which is the hot blonde of the group. I'm getting Blair vibes from her. I could be wrong, but as of right now, I kind of feel like she's Blair. But Audrey is feeling Max. Something about how he makes her feel and the way he looks at her. I'm getting Chuck Bass vibes. And the reason why I say that is because Audrey just plays very Blair-like, and Blair was, her idol was Audrey Hepburn, and the character's name is Audrey. So I feel like it ties in that way. And I feel like Max could be the next Chuck, because he is very fun and fluid and kind of plays with having threesomes with men and women, And I think Audrey plays more of like that innocent, like standard missionary sex type of girl. So, I think she's curious about what Max can attract and what kind of spark he can bring in her life. And I think she's just getting bored of her current relationship. So when she just watches him, she just gets so like seduced by him, which I'm definitely curious about their relationship. I think what's keeping me watching is them for sure. I definitely want to see how that's going to play out, how the relationship's going to intensify. To be honest, I think they have me the most curious right now out of all the characters. I definitely enjoy watching Julian and Zoya, but like a sister relationship can only keep me interesting for so long. I think a new sexy, steamy relationship could be everlasting and definitely entertaining. One thing that I have to say that was a little bit off-putting was there was no blogs, no blogging. I mean, obviously, like Gossip Girl, or should I say Gossip Woman, I know that reference is made in the show, which is very current. I feel like they wanted to stay, with the times and stay current, so they didn't do blogs anymore, and they refrained from that and went into Instagram, which is very current. Everyone posts stories, everyone makes posts, and there's reels and IGTV and all that kind of stuff. But something about it having like that traditional blog post made it so cool and was part of the show. We'll see how big Gossip Girl can get on Instagram, just because she's not blogging and Instagram's not really known for that. It's more for pictures and stuff like that and videos. So it's going to be interesting to see how many videos and photos these teachers can get on these students to like essentially blackmail them. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, these teachers might end up following them or be like at school events, but they're not going to be at these like parties or like, I don't know, events that, teachers and parents shouldn't be at. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out. But besides that, I want to give it such a fucking thumbs up for the soundtrack. Music is such a big part of a show and a movie. I don't care what you say, it is. And if you don't believe me, go watch your favorite movie and watch it without sound or without music, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. I love that they were playing Billie Eilish. They were playing Ariana Grande Positions, something about hearing Ariana Grande while watching this beautiful clothes, being worn by these pretty actresses and really living that iconic lifestyle that you imagine these elite high schoolers live was really cool to see. I enjoyed every aspect of that. A good soundtrack can kind of keep the pace of any show. Not only was the soundtrack phenomenal, but the wardrobe was to die for. It's just so fun to look at, cute clothes, and you have that preppy look, but then you have those cute nightgowns and night outfits and party outfits that you wear or that they wear when they go out. And it's cool to see kind of what each character, what their style is and what they're going to wear. Not only do the girls have great style, but the guys have great style. They really did a good job getting good wardrobe stylists and fitting the men, fitting all the male actors, and getting it true to size and all that. I think it looks great. But one of my favorite looks was definitely when Zoya was wearing that orange jumpsuit, that sparkly jumpsuit that she wore to the fashion show. I think it made such a statement. It looked so good on her skin tone. Everybody could see her when she walked in. I thought the fashion show was really cool. I liked Julian's I like the way she walked, and I like the way that played out. But I didn't love the dress. I thought for her to be the ending girl, I think she could have had something a little bit more. But I'm also someone who loves sparkles, so maybe I'm not the right person to, coordinate the ending of a fashion show. But enough about Gossip Girl. I really think you have to watch it for yourself, especially if you were a fan of the original show. I would say give it a chance, try it out, see what you think, and let me know, because obviously there might be some things that you enjoyed that maybe I didn't enjoy, or I enjoyed that you might think that's been done. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. Obviously, this was the first episode. Just like we say, don't judge a book by its cover. It's hard to judge a show by its first episode. There's so much, to reveal in a show, and you don't want to give it all away in one episode. You want to have it be kind of like stretched out, paced out into at least, 3 to 5 episodes to have all that juicy info. But some episodes don't get, interesting or juicy until the 3rd or 5th episode. So essentially, it's going to be really interesting to see what direction this show will take. And I will definitely keep you guys posted as soon as the show is completely done. So we'll see if it's 11 episodes or 23 episodes. I still don't know. I'm still going to go into it blind. Once the show ends, I'm going to do a recap video and see if my mind was changed at all. As of right now, I would say I like the show. I don't love it. I like it. I love the wardrobe, soundtrack, the diversity, the how openly we can talk about sex. I think it's fun. I think it fits the vibe. It fits the times. I don't like the teachers being Gossip Girl and so involved in that. I think it's a little creepy. I also rather have it be more conflict between the actual circle and the friend group itself versus between the teachers and the students. So hopefully that switches up a little bit, and hopefully we get to know more about who the parents are and background story of each character, which I'm sure they will do. So looking forward to that. And I will definitely make a recap video, so stay tuned for that. We're almost there, but we're not done yet. Marvel finally gave us the movie we've been waiting for, not for a year. I think we've been waiting for like 2 years. This movie was shot back in like 2019, but due to COVID, obviously it didn't get its release like it deserves. So here we are now in the middle of July in 2021, and we are finally talking about Black Widow. So to get started, I first want to talk about how I fucking love Scarlett Johansson. She's a great actress. She's been around forever. She has such range. She's just a fun face to watch, and I really feel like she kind of deserved a little bit more from her movie. Not saying that it wasn't good, but it definitely was more action-packed, in my opinion, than more story-packed. And maybe the timing of it wasn't so perfectly when they released it, but I do understand it was in the middle of a pandemic and things have to, get rearranged. Things change. Things don't always go to plan. But I think her film should have been shown earlier to kind of get more of like who she was before she made the sacrifice in Avengers Endgame and ended up dying or killing herself, making that sacrifice. So it's hard to remember certain points dating back to certain points in movies and stuff, and having that fresh track of like what happened in this film, where was she at, what was everyone doing. But I will start and break it down from the beginning. First, I would like to say is the fight choreography was amazing. The stunts were amazing. They were so tight. Everything was like clean cut. They were hitting their marks every single time. I never felt like, oh, that was sloppy, or like didn't sell that punch, that kick, didn't feel believable. Everything felt like it would really hurt. So that was really cool to see. I love, obviously, how women empowerment the movie was. Like everybody, there were so many cool, badass chicks in it, the widows. So essentially, the Widows is a fembot army. So the creator, the mastermind behind all this, is some powerful, rich Russian dude who controls these widows, who are basically just trained assassins like Black Widow. And they, I think, go around the world and, obviously kill people and get done with whatever this master guy wants. I was just a little confused because I've never heard of these Black Widows before, and I know I haven't read all the comics and all that, but I just feel like aside from the comics, if you're just watching the movies, I had never heard about those, or it's never been mentioned, so I wasn't sure, if they had killed any previous bad guys or if this is like a new thing. And what the history really behind these Black widows or these other widows were. It was really cool to see them fight in synchronization though, and like really hit those marks and kind of show how badass female assassins are, because I'm not sure how many there are out there, but it's really cool. One thing that I want to mention, the fights were really cool. And, obviously Black Widow, she can kick ass. She's been trained to kick ass. She can jump out of helicopters and planes and hang on a rope and fucking pick you up. And she's strong as shit and all this shit. It's really cool. But at the same time, I'm like, how strong is she? Like, I feel like it was never clear to how strong she is. And I thought this movie would kind of give me that. I felt like I was going to get those missing holes filled. But if anything, I kind of feel like it might have confused me a little bit more. And the reason why I say that is because they didn't give any backstory on like her real parents. It turns out that she, was a part of this organization that was supposed to spy on shields nearby. And her parents weren't actually her parents. They were spies that were assigned to her being her parents. And she had a little sister that wasn't really her little sister either, but they were playing this happy little family until one day it gets all destroyed. And years later they reunite. And it was just like weird because it didn't really feel like 100% legit. Like it had its funny, quirky moments, and like the acting between her and Yelena was really good and really believable. And I thought she did a great job acting. Like whenever they were on screen together, Yelena was on screen by herself, or Scarlett Johansson was on screen, Natasha was on screen by herself. The performance was always like, I was in it. I was sold. But some of the other characters had, like her supposedly father, was a little hard to believe at times. Just because it didn't really fit her from the other Avenger movies. So maybe I think that's where it wasn't matching up. I've also noticed that whenever she's, battling or doing something, getting into trouble, obviously, she doesn't really seem to be phased. Like, I guess she's a superhero and she can kick ass, and no doubt she can. But I always wonder, like, what is her like maximum? Like, what is her tipping point? We know that she couldn't fight Thanos, but at the same time, that's kind of all we know. She was able to fight and kind of like help kick ass of the other guys, but we never really know her max potential of fighting and her strength. So I kind of wish we saw that more in the movie, but since we didn't, obviously there's nothing we can do about that. But definitely something I was curious about. Maybe I have to read the comics to really find out. So another thing that I thought was interesting was that Natasha's father was basically a old like super soldier in Russia called the Red Guardian. And they even have a part in the movie where he's like trying to fit into his old suit and trying to squeeze into it and show them like, oh, look at me. And it was definitely funny, but a little strange because we've just never heard about him before. And I feel like instead of it tying into something in the Marvel universe, they threw more random information out on us and kind of were expecting us to like understand it. I don't know. I thought the Red Guardian was a little random, and he kind of took me out at times. He definitely had some funny jokes, and in the beginning of the story, I actually liked his character a lot. But then when he was revealed to be the Red Guardian and he was in this like prison and got this like big beer belly, I was like, this kind of feels like a remake of when Thor got fat in like the other movie. And I did think it was interesting that there were over a dozen Black Widow, assassins, but we didn't hear about any of them until now. So it's like, were they just hiding out in Russia and we didn't hear anything until now? And if so, why? Why would they wait so long to say something? I feel like this movie got a little rushed and they were like, we need to just get her story out. It's been too long. And I don't know, because we do know that she basically sacrifices herself not too long after. So like I said, timing of the movie wasn't the most ideal, and I kind of wish that they had released it not even they should have honestly shot it before 2019. Like, this is something that should have been shot like back in 2015, maybe 2017 if they needed more time. But besides that, the bond between her and Yelena really was a cute bond to see. I hope we see more of her in the future of Marvel movies, but I'm not sure how much of the characters are going to proceed into the next films because, like I said, Natasha dies, so I'm not sure if all those characters die with her in her story or if some of them are able to be in other films, like Yelena's character, her younger sister, who turns out not to really be her younger sister. Turns out they were put together, assigned together as sisters and as a family, which is essentially why Yelena grows up to be a little bit more cold-hearted. And Natasha has that in her as well. She's definitely a little bit more cold, has that like, badass, cold-hearted vibe to her. But essentially grows love through time and I think being a part of the Avengers and experiencing things together as a crew and as an Avenger team, she ends up kind of thinking that they're her family, and she was able to be a little bit more of a softie than her sister, because when she has her reunion with her sister, she kind of seems like a little bit more like the softer one than her. I think her sister was a little bit butthurt that she was in the Avengers team, and kind of never looked for her after that one incident that happened to her when she was younger, which I get it. I feel like that would be really traumatizing as a little girl to think that, you have a big sister, but then you find out it's not your big sister, and then you guys get split apart and your sister never finds you or never looks for you. You would just kind of feel like those first 4 years of your life were a fraud, which is really, really hard hitting. But I like that they addressed that, and she did mention that in the film. Like I said, I think there were a lot of key hitting moments and emotional moments that they did well in. But mostly, but I felt that between this Natasha and Yelena, the two sisters. But when Natasha was acting with her mom, for example, I didn't feel it as much, or both parents even, because with the mom, she kind of looked like not that much older than Scarlett Johansson, and I think that was a little weird. I think they should have added a little bit more of gray hair to her, instead of giving her red like in her hair, like in her braid. I think that could have added to the aging process to make it look more realistic of that could be her mom versus someone that's realistically probably only like 10 years older than her playing her mom and literally looking like she's only 10 years younger than her. I'm like, unless they have this magic like serum of them not aging, like an anti-aging serum, I think they could have casted that a little bit differently. And nothing against her, because she's a great actress and she's really good at what she does and fun to watch. But casting wise, it just seemed a little bit unbelievable, and I'm just being honest. I'm definitely sad that, Natasha's character is done for. I wasn't ready to have her be done and be officially gone out of the Marvel universe. I mean, I could say the same thing about Iron Man. I was not ready for that when that happened to me at the movie theater. I was shocked. I was like, this is not real. Like, they can't kill off Iron Man, but I guess they can because Marvel has the budget for it. So here we are. Overall, this flaming hot week in July was pretty cool. I would say that it was a pretty good week. I mean, the week's not even over. We still have Sharkweek episodes. But not only that, Black Widow, we had to wait for it. But it was pretty entertaining. We got some really cool fight scenes. We got to see Scarlett Johansson one more time on the big screen doing her thing as a superhero. We love to see her. And who knows, maybe she'll get her ride at Disneyland. The sky's the limit, right? But other than that, I will definitely give you guys a recap video of Gossip Girl when it's done. And I would love for you guys to watch it and tell me what you think, because it'd be super entertaining to compare notes and ideas and really see if you guys feel the same way, or if it was just me and just, I don't know, maybe there was something I missed or something that you guys want to talk about, which would be really cool. But yeah, I'm excited to see where the journey of Gossip Girl will take us. If we will get more drama between the friend group or if it's going to remain between the teachers and students. Like I said, the sky's the limit. We really don't know what direction it's going to go in. It can go in any direction. I think nowadays people are a lot more open to how things can play out in high school, and maybe that's what this whole thing's all about. Maybe I'm just not used to, like, teachers really being involved in it, so maybe I have to be a little bit more open-minded to the idea of teachers being so involved in these students' lives. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm excited to see, but I'm going to keep it honest and 100, 100. And I want to really give you guys honest feedback, because anyone can sit here and be like, oh yeah, it was good. And then not feel that way. And it's like, what was the point of this video if I'm not being genuine about how I really felt? And from a directing standpoint, I always watch things and can't help but think oh, how would I have done this? Or would I have shot it this way? Or, would I have cued the music at this point? Or would I have cut it at this point? So it's really nice and interesting to see the difference and compare. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was so much fun to, come here and talk. It's my first video doing it by myself. It was a little weird, a little awkward. I was a little intimidated, but I definitely had fun. Just honestly talking, giving you guys the reviews of everything that I've watched. Let me know if there's anything else I should watch and review, because there's so many more things coming out. And I'm super excited. And for everyone excited about Bloom, don't worry, that's going to be recorded soon. We just had to reschedule. So as soon as we have our schedules in line, we're going to shoot that, record that, and you guys will find out all about Bloom and what it was like shooting in Mexico City, and Freddie being able to direct his own, coming out story, which is huge and exciting. So I'm super excited for you guys to tune in next week or whenever our schedules align, and we can talk about it and sit down and really discuss how it is, because that's the beauty of filmmaking, connecting and sharing stories that people can relate to. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe at the bottom, and I will see you guys next week.